This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Chuck, you bet on Luke Hasz to be an immediate impact player. I remember us talking about this in summer, and you hit, man. He has been a found treasure, and Sam Pittman and this offense have really utilized him the last two games.
Yeah, when you go out to the portal and just shake the tree and a bunch of receivers, fall out, you can find some guys. Sometimes just recruit a guy into the program. They can come from anywhere. They even got the running backs involved the other night. But I'm a big fan of KJ, and I think he's going to let everybody look a whole lot better at times. There's been some picks this year, but, if you look at each of the three, you kind of understand maybe game situation or, whatever it is, end of half, end of game. KJ's a superstar. And the other night, I think we saw that a really imperfect team with Arkansas, who, and I talked about this going into the game, I said they are desperate. They lost that game to BYU. They had the 2-touchdown lead, and you're at home. And I was like, in the fourth quarter, all your timeouts at home, you've got KJ, and none of that looked like it was true against Brigham Young. And you lose the game. I was like, folks, LSU was way better, in my opinion. Arkansas can win this because they're desperate already. September 23rd, they're desperate. And they have an upperclassman, a stud at quarterback with skins on the wall. And that's kind of how it played out the other night. Again, two imperfect teams that give up a whole lot on the back end. But when you got a guy like KJ, you have a chance.
What did you think about that dynamic of him and Daniels? Daniels had himself an incredible game as well. Are those still the best two quarterbacks in the league, in your opinion, Chuck?
They are, and isn't it funny? I'm going to pick nits with a guy. You mentioned Daniels. I think he finished like 75% completions. Didn't he I don't want to say bailed out, didn't he get some help from his receivers, maybe a little bit more than KJ? Like Neighbors came back for a couple, I remember. Brian Thomas came back for one in the first half, and they were completions. And so when you talk about Daniels being a little bit off the other night, he got help early, and I think he's kind of like a pitcher that kind of like got his groove in the third or fourth inning. But it's all on KJ. And like I said, it was a heck of a shootout. I was entertained because I'm not on either coaching staff. I'm not a fan. I didn't have any money on the game. I just got to enjoy it like the Mississippi State-South Carolina game. But if you look at Arkansas right now, it's real. There is no room for error. All the room to wiggle is gone.
Yeah. Chuck Oliver with us on the McLarty Daniel Hotline. So put your coaching hat on for a minute. You're down there in the red zone deep. Arkansas's back's pressed to the wall. You've you've wasted all your timeouts in the third
with
quarter.
9 minutes left.
Yeah. So what do you do there, Chuck? Do you let LSU score? Do you drag them into the end zone? How would you have coached up that moment that the Razorbacks found themselves in?
All right, here is, I have this list of sports rules, and at the top nearly is you never stop playing fundamental football. Like, literally think about it. You never stop doing what you know is good fundamental football. You're at the point there at the end of the game where you're right. It's the timeouts. And I remember looking like 9 minutes left. I'm like, what happened to all the timeouts? And then Brian Kelly, didn't he say it after the game? He was like, oh, yeah, we weren't going to let them have the ball back. And you are able to do that. I think they got their first down with like 2:13 left or so. And then they're saying, oh, yeah, they're not getting it back after this. So it was a big, big, big part of it. Organizationally, not having the timeouts absolutely changed the chance, I think. Because what did they do at the end of the first half? Didn't LSU say, hey, 41 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, wasn't that take a knee and go to the locker room? LSU's like, nah, we're going to go down there and score. Arkansas's like, okay, well, 30 seconds is enough time, too. We're going to try as well. Imagine if KJ had like 30 seconds, 35 seconds at the end of the game instead of, 4 seconds he got the ball back? It really, everything matters, man. And one timeout in the third quarter where maybe it really, really does matter.
When you look at this Arkansas-Texas A&M game, you use the word desperate and, no wiggle room at this point. How big is the outcome for Arkansas? And also when you look at A&M, not uncertainty with their quarterback going in this week due to injury, this seems like a big moment for the Aggies, just like the Razorbacks.
It really is. But I'm going to say one thing about Max Johnson is it will be, you're right, uncertainty of quarterback, but it's uncertain which impact guy will play, in my opinion. I like Max Johnson. Like right now, if you were to drop the A&M offense into a fishbowl and say, play right now, I think you're better with Max Johnson right now, but it ain't that far away with Connor Wegman, and that kid has so much blue sky. We understand, everybody understands how that works. It will be different, though, in what they call, what they run. Petrino still likes to peel the top off secondaries, and so you're going to have some of that. But Max Johnson is perfectly capable, and with maybe as deep and diverse as talented wide receivers as you're going to find. Evan Stewart may be the best receiver in the conference. It's going to be a big time challenge on Saturday.
We're talking with Chuck Oliver, host of the Chuck Oliver Show across the United States, also 680 The Fan in Atlanta. Chuck, surprises in the SEC. Who stands out amongst them all?
Can I give you one player? Spence Rattler. Like, if we can go back, like DeLorean, back to when he was a senior in high school, here's the truth. South Carolina has never, ever, ever gotten a quarterback of that, like, high school recruiting resume. He's the number one quarterback in America. Well, then it's like 3 years later, and we all look at Spence Rattler and go, oh, yeah, you're the guy who bailed out Oklahoma and you throw a bunch of picks. I will tell you right now, that opening week against North Carolina, that a clean pocket is a clean pocket, whether it's Furman, UNC, the second half against Georgia. Spence Rattler has played out of his mind this season. I have been so impressed with that kid. And he's got, like, freaky pterodactyls on the outside. Did y'all see that acceleration from Leggett? He got the ball on the 27-yard line with 5 defenders around him. At the 40, I was like, it's over. So he's got help over there, but I've been more impressed with Spence Rattler than maybe any individual one player so far this season. And I got to say, how about the Alabama defense? That might be like towing the line to a real-life Saban-Bama defense, and that may be enough to carry them in the West.
Yeah, we've talked about it. They really woke up against Ole Miss this weekend. It looks like the SEC West is still going to go through Tuscaloosa. How exciting is that matchup that we have in front of us between LSU and Bama and a possible just crazy matchup like we had last year?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how it's going to look with Jalen Milroe because like Phillip Rivers, we all watched him in the NFL for, 15 years, shot putting, his way to 50,000 passing yards in the Hall of Fame. It looks weird. There is some push to the ball, and then there are some times where he just lets it rip. Now, here's what's true. Even on Saturdays, in the NFL, there's like 2 playbooks. Even in college where there's like 30 different offenses, at some point, it comes to your quarterback standing in the pocket, delivering the ball downfield. And no matter how much athleticism, you're down 9, all right? You ain't down 8 or 7. And you have to deliver the ball downfield to the receivers. And that still isn't a consistent, reliable part of that offense. So there is a ceiling, and it kind of looks like a hard ceiling right now with Milroe, but he's also 4 starts in or so. But it's just a throwing motion, a technique sort of thing that would have to be refined. But they can make that work enough with that defense. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that.
Chuck, is the 2024 Alabama starting quarterback already on campus in Tuscaloosa, or do they go to the portal and back up a Brinks truck to find them someone to run the offense next year?
Who's the head coach?
Well,
you weren't expecting a question to your question.
No, I'm going to assume Nick Saban.
The reason I'm asking that is because I think Nick Saban looks at the portal, and as far as quarterback, I think he looks at the portal as like, I may be done with that. In fact, word around the campfire is at halftime he had to come to Jesus with Tommy Rees, which if you go look at the play calling in the second half, it's a little bit different. So if Nick Saban is still the head coach in the offseason, I don't think he's going to the portal. I think he has developed a distaste for that one position, I believe. If, I don't know, whoever else is, you just evaluate because you showed up and you didn't bring in any of those guys. And I'm not trying to start rumors or anything. And I'm also not over-responding to that. We all saw that one picture of him walking off the field in Tampa. Like, he looked exhausted and defeated at that point, even though they won. I'm not reacting to that. I just look around, man. Like, you tell me, does he look like he's getting closer to Kirby? Like, this is not fun for him right now. So he's 2 or 1 or so. I just think this could be his last season. If he's the head coach, though, I think the quarterback's in the program yet.
So on that note, as we're talking with Chuck Oliver here on the McCarty Daniel Hotline, I've seen Dan Lanning, I've seen Kiffin, and people throwing out Dion. Who would be some of the notable names that would actually get a shot from Greg Byrne if that job came open next year?
Well, I think Lane Kiffin absolutely would be at least the top of all of our lists. It would make sense for a lot of reasons, be top of his list. There is association there with a lot of respect and an endorsement from Nick Saban. But also, here's the thing I've always said about Lane. Remember he made that comment about we're going to go down to the swamp and sing Rocky Top all night? I was around him about a week after that. It's the first time I ever been in the same room with him. He's at Tennessee. And I was like, this guy's kind of boring. Like, he's very straightforward and loves talking football. He is not the Twitter guy. He is not the snark. He is not the kid who got fired by Al Davis. I think Lane is a very, very good coach, and he's a grown, mature coach now. So I think Lane be at the top ahead of Dabo, I believe.
Now, Chuck mentioned Deion Sanders. They have a huge game this weekend hosting USC. I know Travis Hunter really wants to play with that lacerated liver. Deion's not going to let him for obvious reasons. Are they have any shot against Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley, or is it just going to be another blowout like we saw in Eugene?
I would not. I mean, it's sports. You never know. Chaminade. Y'all go look it up if you don't know. But it's sports. It can always happen. But if you don't block, that undoes. Like, you can't. That's the one thing. I can work around a limited quarterback. Everybody, think of your team and a limited quarterback. You know, you can work around. If you don't block up front, you can't work around that. And they haven't blocked for Shador all season. So what I expect that offense from USC to do is score early, which means now you're in predictable down and distance for Colorado, and you don't block. Like, this is a very basic, like, building block sort of thing for them. They need the offensive line to be a lot better. They've got shiny, sparkly stuff. I'm telling you, it's fun. They need to block, or it doesn't matter. That's the one thing y'all know. This Arkansas, like, wasn't it 2 or 3 years? Like, you had Ragnow and like 4 guys named Jeff. That was not a good. You couldn't do anything there. That's what they're dealing with at Colorado.
Yeah. When you spin forward and you look at the college football playoff landscape, and I know we've got a whole month in October to kind of sort some things out, but is the SEC in danger of A, missing out, or B, only really having one legitimate shot at a seat at the table this year?
Oh, I absolutely believe that. And I don't know necessarily, I can't, come to a conclusion about why. I do think part of it is the portal and the fact that I can take your second or even third teamer and he can start at Colorado State. Well, like, think how many times, like, think of Bama last year, or 2 years ago even. Marcus Banks, do y'all remember him? Corner who, like, end of October, I'm not playing, I'm in a portal. And I remember thinking, why are you portaling now? He's like, I want to go and visit. I was like, all right, go and visit. He was a cornerback. He eventually transfers to Mississippi State. Alabama could have used him in the national championship game that season. Like, he would have started the Natty against Georgia because of all their injuries. And he's like, I'm a portal. That's real. So multiply that times like 10 or 12. And where are, like, the best of everything in college football is biggest stadiums, highest paid coaches, most NFL players. Like, we got everything you want in the SEC, including Colorado State or San Jose or Fresno or anybody going, and we'll take your quarterback who doesn't play and we'll take your running back who doesn't. Problem is they don't play in September. You need those guys, and so I think that is part of it.
And I think in cases you're seeing coaches' decisions, and particularly the way schedules work out, Arkansas did this to a degree early. You're playing some of these guys to give them a taste, to show them some hope, some light at the end of the tunnel, because coaches now, and I think this is what's at, you're talking about what aggravates guys like Nick Saban, it's re-recruiting your own roster every day. That's the exhausting part.
Yeah, it's a $10 bill on a fishing line. That's what those 4 games are. It's just enough to keep you in the program. And, again, if you talk to the coaches when that 4-game thing got approved, it was, oh, yeah, get the kids acclimated without having to jump in the deep end of the pool. It was to help the coaches. It absolutely was to help the coaches.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. BetOnline, where the game starts.